Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Mrs. Anderson, and in this video I'm going to go over how to simplify a rational expression. The steps in order to do this is you want to make sure that your expressions are factored out on both the top and the bottom first. So you'll want to start by either factoring using your factoring rules or pulling out anything that they have in common using your greatest common factor or GCF method. Then what you're going to do is look for common factors. See if there's anything on the top and on the bottom that they share that you could get rid of. If they do have anything in common, simplify the expression by crossing out the common factors. Those would simplify to a 1, which really won't affect the problem at all. But just take note that if you happen to be able to cross out every single factor, your answer is not going to be 0, but it's going to be 1, because anything divided by itself is always equal to 1. Once you've simplified the expression, you're going to write the simplified form. Let's look at some examples. For this first one I have x squared minus 5x plus 6 all over x squared minus 9. So we're going to use our factoring rules in order to help us factor this. The top, the x squared minus 5x plus 6, you need to think of two numbers that would multiply to the 6 and would also add to negative 5. For the bottom, this is a difference of two perfect squares. So you're going to square root both portions, the x squared and the 9, and when you write it out in parentheses, one of them will have a plus sign, one of them will have a minus sign. So the factored form looks like this: x minus 3, x minus 2, because negative 3 times negative 2 would be positive 6, but negative 3 plus negative 2 would get you your negative 5. And the bottom is going to factor to x minus 3, x plus 3. Because they both share x minus 3, you can cross those off and you're left with x minus 2 over x plus 3, and that's your simplified answer. Let's look at another one. Again, using our factor rules, for these we want to, for the top, find two numbers that multiply to 21 and add to 10. For the bottom, we want two numbers that multiply to 28 and add to 11. So the factored form is x plus 7, x plus 3, over x plus 7, x plus 4. You can see that they both share x plus 7, so getting rid of those two quantities, I'll have x plus 3 over x plus 4. For this next example, we're only going to be able to factor this and then simplify by pulling out their greatest common factor, or GCF for short. On the top portion, I can only pull out an x, and if I do that, I'm left with 5x plus 3, and this is still all over 5x. The only thing that I can simplify from here is take the x from the top out from the x on the bottom. So the simplified answer is going to be 5x plus 3 all over 5. Another one using the GCF method looks like this: c plus 5 all over 2c plus 10. For this one on the bottom, I'm going to factor out a 2, and I'm left with c plus 5. That allows me to cross off the c plus 5 from the top and from the bottom. Now because the c plus 5 is gone on top, earlier I said that anything divided by itself is 1, so make sure that you put a 1 up on the top and you leave the 2 in the bottom of the fraction. So this will simplify to 1/2. For these last couple of examples I'm going to go through, we're going to start talking about these monomials again, and when you're simplifying you have to remember your monomial rules. So when you have variables with exponents and you're trying to simplify, you want to make sure that you subtract your exponents. So I'm going to show you here, breaking this apart into the three pieces. So I'm using my numbers and then I'm splitting off the fractions with my letters that I have in common. So I put the negative 3 over 21, the x over x squared, the y to the 4th over y squared. Now I can simplify the numbers as normal, so that simplifies to negative 1/7. Now for my letters, I have to subtract my exponents. So the top x has an exponent of 1, so you're going to do 1 minus 2. And for the y's, you're going to do 4 minus 2. Now one thing to remember with our rules is that when you subtract, you always want to have a positive exponent. So for the x quantity, when I do 1 minus 2, that's going to be negative 1. So I'm going to have to drop my x to the bottom of my fraction in order to make that exponent become positive. So this answer is going to be negative y squared all over 7x. The negative could sit on top with the y, it could sit out front. The fraction is just going to be made negative because you had that negative in front of the 3 to begin with. And like you can see, my x has dropped to the bottom in order to make it a positive exponent, and then the y squared stays as is because 4 minus 2 is just 2. Here's another one using those same rules that I just talked about. So again, I'm going to split this apart. So I have 12 over 4, x to the third over x squared, y squared over y to the fifth. 12 over 4 is going to be 3. X you're going to do 3 minus 2, and y you're going to do 2 minus 5. Again, with the 2 minus 5, that's going to be negative 3, so the y will have to drop to the bottom so that it's y to the third. So it looks like this, 3x all over y to the third. If you're ready to give it a try, I've created a practice quiz on a website called Quizizz.com, and it is a multiple choice platform where you can go and practice the skill you just learned. The link to that can be found below in the description, but I've also included it here for you to type into your URL if needed. I hope you learned something from this video, and thank you for watching.